Okay, so I'm back with a review of Carnivale Season 1, Episode 3. Let me tell you, I'll give you my opinion at the end. Let's go over the episode first. Okay, so in this episode, the carnival stops in a new town called Tipton, where the sheriff says no to the carnival. He knows Samson from, I don't know, past events or whatever. Everything seemed good, but he said he doesn't want his people to get scammed. And Ben goes into town with Jonesy and sees a big Sky Farms truck. And before he could ask any questions, he gets pointed out by the girl that he healed in the first episode. And the people start going crazy, crowding around him, praising him. And then they get away in the truck. And then we cut to BJ fixing up the old Mr. Chin's brothel place that's now turned into a place for his congregation with dormitories for children. Looks like the place is turning around. But the councilmen come to burst his bubble and tell him that they're going to tear down that whole block and they're going to give him somewhere else that's, I guess, is outside of town. And Brother Justin, I don't know if I called him Brother John, but if I have called him Brother John, it's Brother Justin. He tells them that he knows what they're doing and that they just want to get the undesirables out of town, the immigrants and migrant workers and all that. And the councilmen, they show their true faces to him and say they giving him a chance, giving him a decent property. They don't have to strong harm him out of there, but they're willing to do that. And said the place is not worth more than $50 and I don't know, something weird he said. And then Brother Justin and his sister go talking, and he says he's not giving up. God gave him clear instructions, and he said no. And as soon as he said no in like very loud, aggressive tone, then one of the councilmen, the main one that was talking, it seems like the leader, he started choking. I don't know if it was an asthma attack or something breathing, some type of breathing attack. And then he left, and him and his sister looked at each other. His sister looked at him like she knew it was him, but she didn't look pleased or concerned. She looked a little pissed, and then just went about her business. And Brother Justin just looks creepy as ever, like he always look. It seems like he wants to do the right thing, but anytime anything is that centered around like religious cult-like things, it always seems like it's not going to end up well. And he might not be the best guy, and he self-mutilates, and it's all weird. But so far, he hasn't done anything dangerous except for let go of the guy that used to own the Mr. Chin before. Other than that, he hasn't done anything dangerous. But it seems like that's the road that he might be heading, because it's just very nefarious, ominous tone just around him in general. And then we go back to the carnival. Samson went to go talk to one of the main preachers in town, tell him that they're having a revival, not a carnival. He got him on his side by telling him he's going to get 50% of the profits, and so that way they can get around the sheriff not wanting to have a carnival in town. They fix up Ben and put him on that tux. And a couple of them are shocked by how much he looks like Shutter. Ben's so nervous and he's sweating, but they all put on a show, and they even have a fake sick person, which is really Ben's crush. She did a good job pretending, because I was thinking, like, did she actually feel something when he touched her? But I don't know, maybe it'll come back that she actually did feel something, who knows. And then Ben dreams of this nice house in the summer, and like it's like two people on the porch. I don't know if one of them is Shutter. I don't know. Shutter looks different every time I see an image of him. But and then there was a blonde woman. She looked in distress. Then he woke up, and And then he goes to town to figure out where the Big Sky Farms truck came from, and they said that whoever it was bought it at auction from the Donovans because they used to own a lot of stuff, but now they don't. So he told him where the Donovan house was, and that's when he first learned about Mrs. Donovan. And then we go back to Brother Justin's. I think oh yeah, this is the part where Brother Justin, where everything happened with the councilman. Before that, Brother Justin was putting on he was preaching for his flock. Okay, I got that mixed up, but you already know what happened with Brother Justin and the councilman. Sophie gives Ben a ride after her mom tells her that he needs one before he even knocked on the door. And they go down to Mrs. Donovan's house. It's a very rundown version of the house that he saw in his dream. A gentleman answers the door, and then when he looks at him, he said, "Oh, she's been waiting for you." Then he goes in there, and she says that he has Shudder's eyes. So it's very heavily implied throughout the last 3 episodes that Shudder is Ben's father. And then she talks about how they're friends and how he comes to her in dreams and how he sent Ben that dream of her. And then she tells him there are rules to his gift/curse, and that to give life you have to take it away. And sometimes it's a field of wheat. And I'm guessing that's referring to the girl on the first episode that he healed. And then I thought it was grass, but I guess this is a wheat field. All of that died so that she could walk. And then she said sometimes it could be a person. So that made him leery. And then Sophie and the sheriff comes back and kicks him out because Mrs. Donovan is his mother. And he thinks he's a charlatan, a grifter. So him and Sophie are on their way back, and they get into an argument because Sophie doesn't feel like he's opening up, doesn't feel like he's honest. She kicks him out, calls her a bitch, and all of a sudden she comes back and says, "What did you call me?" He says, "Bitch." And then she said, "Get in," which was freaking weird. And then he says, "No." And then he just sits down, and she just sits there in the car and wait for him for it looks like hours. It's so weird. And in the meantime, at the revival, quote unquote, they are waiting for them, so instead they just dress up one of the boys to pretend like he's Ben, so the show can go on, right? But but eventually Ben and them are on their way. But as the show starts, the sheriff brings in Mrs. Donovan, tells him to heal her because they were going to have a fake person come up to get healed again because that's part of the show. But he sees the healer. He's like, where's the real healer? Where's Ben? And then Ben was like, "Here I am." So Ben walks up to Mrs. Donovan, and she's like just shaking, just on her last breaths, and it's obvious. And she tells him not to heal her. She doesn't want him to touch her. And then he said that he won't, because at first he wanted to heal her because he said he wanted to know about the rules, but she said no. And everyone saw that she said no, so he pretty much escaped criticism for not healing her. And he asked her before she died, where did Heck Shudder go after he left her? And she said Babylon. And then that was the end of that. And then after the show, when they packed up to move the carnival, Samson asked Ben what was he going to do if she hadn't pushed him away, if she hadn't said no, because Samson said, "You're going to act like girl, you were going to do something. What were you going to do?" And then Ben didn't say nothing. He was like, "That's what I thought." And then he demoted him, and he's not the lead of a show anymore. And then they get in the car, and Samson's in the car with Jonesy, and Jonesy says, "Where to?" And he tells him where they're headed, and then Jonesy's like, "That's pretty close to Babylon." And he was like, "No, we're heading straight to Babylon." And they just look at each other. So this Babylon place is infamous. at least for these two, and I'm sure it's for the other crew members. I'm sure it's infamous as well. I don't know why yet because they didn't say it, but we'll find out in episode 4. Okay, so two things, right? I'm feeling a little lackluster, partially because I'm tired. I just watched 3 of these episodes straight through. I had a full day, but I wanted to keep going because I'm afraid that if I just binge it without stopping to do a talk through of it, a review of it, that I'm gonna abandon this. And I don't want to abandon this. I feel really good about doing this, even though I haven't had a lot of traffic on my channel. That doesn't mean that there'll never be, but what they say, if you build it, they'll come. If I make these, there are people who want to hear it. So, yeah, that part. And then also, this was out of the 3 episodes I watched for, this is the most lackluster. It's the one that felt the most like filler. It feels like there were a lot of filler things in there, like with Sophie and Ben, that whole situation with her sitting there. That whole little car scene, this is weird, okay? It seemed like filler, it seemed like useless, and like everything was just like felt very fillerish and non-canon, except for a few key points like Babylon and Mrs. Donovan leaking out the information about Sutter and sending dreams, and to give somebody's health or life, you have to take it from somewhere else. It could be plant life or it can be human life. That's the canon. Those small parts, which added up to possibly 5 minutes or less of the episodes, are the canon part, are the part that really matter. And something else, my goodness, I don't want to sound ridiculous, but honey, these people in this damn show, my gosh, where are they living? This is like a literal hellscape. This is like fear come to life. Like, what the fuck? I've never seen this level of like, this is just this display of just impoverished to the point of decay. These people just, oh my gosh. It's like it is scary. It's frightening. It reminds me of all the terrible things I've been seeing, the visuals of all the horrors around the world of people dealing with things. And not the actual like horrors, like the things that are happening in the DRC, but the lifestyle that they're living, and just take style all the way out, but the lives that they're leading because of circumstances. Seems like this is what these people in these hellscape towns are living. Just a life full of dust. And it's horrifying. It is horrifying. It's from this is placed in the 20s and 30s, late 20s, early 30s. It is not what the image of what Hollywood portrayed that time to be, but then again, Hollywood does gloss everything and put a nice little shiny gloss over everything. But this is like, I guess they're like in South and Middle America and small towns, and like this, I'm guessing this is what the majority of seen. It looks like the Wild West imagery that we would see, but dirtier. It looks dirtier than the Wild West. It looks like a hellscape. It looks like post-apocalyptic, but so far away from being post-apocalyptic that it's crazy. It's frightening because it seems like it's a future that could happen, and I just definitely would not want that for my child. It scares the bejesus out of me, the way that these people are living. And then also the lack of information that they have available to them, the lack of education, information, like the flow of information is obviously stunted because this is the early 1930s. It's really sad. Really sad. It's like these people, if you were in the middle of nowhere, you were in the middle of the nowhere. There is no information highway. like the information highway that we have now. I should say highways, because there are multiple ways to get information and news and live feeds of what's going on in the world around us. This is definitely a global society. And to think that people live so shut off. And it's not even the fact of being shut off, it's the fact of how they're living. Disturbingly dirty. And just in lack. The people are in so much lack. It's just odd. A hellscape. Anyway, so that is episode 3. I will be back with episode 4. Bear with me. We're gonna make it, people. Whoever the people are that come and watch this. All right. Peace.